Hi, everyone. I hope you guys had a great week last week. Thank you so much to those of you who sent in the list of your favorite books. I have responded to those of you who sent those in via email and giving you some reading suggestions to take a look at going forward for your own personal reading. And I will consult your list going forward as I plan our lessons and the things we're reading. It's very important to me to build a course that is going to interest you this year and really keep you engaged and excited about writing and reading. So, now, as you may have noticed, I did not have office hours last week. I will be announcing my virtual office hours as soon as possible. I'm going for maybe, today, tomorrow, in Google Classroom. So I am hoping to make mornings or afternoons work, but I'm waiting for feedback on a few time slots. So thank you guys so much for your patience on this. I promise you I will be having virtual office hours weekly. Hopefully I'll be on campus, a few times as well over the course of the semester. But as we get everything kind of straightened up and ironed out, it's just taking a little bit of time. So I really appreciate your patience on that. So last week I asked you to consider some questions in your journal. Now, I want to go ahead and address this because I have had a couple of people email me and say, Miss Haley, do I turn this in via email? Do I turn it in via Google Docs? And I just want to go ahead and let you guys know your journal is a space for you. Okay, if you want to send me what you write, that is absolutely fine. But you are not required to send me the journal assignments. Please don't take this as an invitation to not write in your journal, right? Just because I'm not reading it doesn't mean, that you shouldn't do it, okay? Understand that it is out of respect for you, that I do not require you to share what we are writing in our personal journals. And this is really just, it's supposed to be a space for you to communicate your thoughts with yourself, get everything organized, and then decide what you want to share with the world as a writer, as a storyteller, and maybe also what you're not quite ready to share. So, with that being said, I do also want to remind you that I promised you that I would complete every assignment I asked you to complete. So here's my journal, okay? And I'd like to read for you the answer I wrote to the question, when is the last time you felt deeply happy? Okay. So in December, I traveled to Virginia to visit my friends and family. With the pandemic raging, traveling is not the safest activity. However, I embarked on my journey in the school bus that I remodeled into a home on wheels. This allowed me to enjoy the trip without staying in the same home as my loved ones. I went all the way to the ocean and spent Christmas Day socially distancing while walking on the beach with my parents. A red carnation washed up on the shore, and it reminded me of my grandmother, who passed away just a few months ago. Red carnations were her favorite flower. While this was a profoundly emotional or sad moment, it also made me deeply happy because I felt like my entire family was close to me for the first time in a year. Okay, so here's the big question about that. How do we turn that journal entry into something that feels comfortable to share? How do we take the very diverse pieces of that story and create something that feels whole? Oftentimes, our deepest emotions will come out in our journals. So we may even use words or phrases that we would not dare say publicly. And we feel powerful things, and that's okay because we are human after all, right? So how do we convey those powerful things while being conscious of the vocabulary we are using and remembering that our audience may contain people who really would like to share that experience with us, but might have more sensitive ears, okay? So that's really what I want to focus on for this particular lesson, and I'd like to share with you what I created from that journal entry. I have 2 poems here. The first one is, "Out here the world does not feel broken, as the waves crash up on the shore, and frozen toes sink deeper into sand I will find on my clothes for days. My parents' smiles warm my soul from 6 feet." Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is, "My mother spots the carnation first and shouts from 6 feet down the shore. There are things a pandemic can't take away from you, like aging skin in spring, sunshine before petals fell from her bones." Okay, so these are just rough translations of my answer to that question in the form of creative work. However, they are a direct, semi-polished, I guess you could say, answer. So I may go back and edit these a little more. In fact, I've edited them several times since I wrote them, just to really feel more focused, right? So there is a metaphor in the last poem, and it's comparing my grandmother to that carnation. And so it says, like aging skin and spring sunshine before petals fell from her bones. So these are the types of things, these literary devices like metaphors and similes, they make your writing stronger. So I'm sure we all know what a metaphor is. I'm sure Jack went over that last semester and your English teachers are going over it too, but sometimes it is easy to forget these literary terms. So just as a reminder, a metaphor is a comparison of 2 unlike things without using like or as, whereas a simile would use like or as, okay? Now, an extended metaphor is something that carries out over the course of a longer work. And so you might see these in novels. You can actually see them in poetry sometimes as well, if you have a comparison of those 2 unlike things that just continues on. So these pieces that I wrote were written in the form of a nonette. So I'll include all of these, my journal entry and the 2 nonettes, in the attached slide presentation so you can see them. A nonette is a poem that has 9 syllables in the first line, 8 syllables in the second line, and so forth and so on all the way down to the last line, which has 1 syllable. So it has a total of 9 lines, okay? It does not have to rhyme. In fact, I think it actually sounds better if it doesn't. And you can test how many syllables a line has by clapping with each one, or snapping, whichever you prefer. Just to give you an example here, I'm not actually going to clap because it would be probably kind of hard to hear me if I did, but I'm going to count these off on my fingers, okay? My mother spots the carnation first. There's 9, okay? And shouts from 6 feet down the shore. 8. There are things a pandemic, 7, can't take away from you, 6. Like aging skin in spring, like aging skin in spring. Look at that, you guys. I just definitely need to take a syllable away from that. So I'm going to go in and we're going to change that line to like wrinkles in spring. Yeah, I think we can do that. That would be 5 lines. So I'm going to go back in. There we go. And change it to have 5 syllables in that line. Let's start over. My mother spots the carnation first, 9, and shouts from 6 feet down the shore, 8. There are things a pandemic, 7, can't take away from you, 6. Like wrinkles in spring, 5. Sunshine before, 4. Petals fell, 3. From her, 2. Bones. Okay? So as you write this, you may find that you go back and you count out these syllables and oh my gosh, you have one too many in a certain line, and that's okay. That's where editing comes in. If you get stuck, please feel free to email me, okay? And we can talk about it, talk about where you might go with that syllable. So you'll see the adjusted version of mine in the PowerPoint presentation. I'm actually really glad that happened because it shows you, I think, that it is entirely possible to accidentally include one too many, and it's entirely possible to be able to fix it. Okay, so let's see. Now it is your turn. So for homework this week, I would like you to write a nonette that reflects the answer to one of the questions you wrote in your journal. So if you choose to write about one of the questions that has more than one answer, remember the first two had, like a little list. I think one was 5 things and one was 3 things. You can choose just one of those things on the list to really focus on in the nonette, if that makes sense, if that's easier for you rather than all 3 or all 5. And if that does not make sense, please email me and I can clarify. So email me with any questions you have. I have included my email address for you in the accompanying slide presentation on the last slide. So again, if you need that, it is there, and I'll make sure it's in the notes in Google Classroom as well. So you can email this nonette to me, okay, or you can share it with me via Google Docs. Take your time with this. Remember, it doesn't have to rhyme, right? In fact, probably better if it doesn't. So choose the answer to one of those 3 questions that you are most comfortable turning into a nonette and sharing with me. And we're going to add these to your writing portfolio, which we will continue to develop over the course of the semester. And at the end of the semester, you'll have a nice portfolio that you can actually show people. So these poems will be due this Friday, January 22nd by 11:59 p.m. The sooner you get them in, the better, right? But if you need to email with me this week, please, please, please feel free to do so. I am always available via email, and as maybe some of your peers might tell you, it's usually a pretty quick turnaround time on that email. So now, feel free to share your journal entry on this question with me too when you send the poem, but this is just another reminder that the journal entry portion is not something you are required to share. Again, guys, for these pieces, I ask that you keep them, PG-13 or, better for younger audiences, better for public audiences. And definitely no strong language, no curse words in any of these. I really appreciate that. I know that, with a lot of your creative writing pieces on your own, you might have a different approach. And so I really appreciate you being able to modify that a little and stretch yourselves a little bit creatively to not do that for me. Okay. Now, please continue to write in your journals this week. What I'd like you to do for your journals is to pay close attention to any advice your teachers, parents, guardians, or trusted adults in your life share with you. Any advice that you feel is really good, okay? Next week, we are going to discuss how to create characters who help readers learn valuable lessons over the course of a short story. So we will also have a very special guest on this video next week. So, there's something to look forward to for our Monday video next week. So thank you guys again so much for tuning in. Again, if you have any questions, please, please, please email me. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Also, before I go, make sure that you stay, tuned into Google Classroom, because as soon as I have virtual office hours, I will share those with you. Okay? All right, have a fantastic week, you guys. I hope it's amazing. And again, I'll see you next Monday, definitely. And hopefully before then in virtual office hours. Bye.